here's just what I need, my compass. A compass needle always points north, and that can help me find the right direction on my map. Compasses have helped people find their way for hundreds of years. And today, scientists use extraordinary new tools to help them find much more than a compass ever could. Like the most famous shipwreck in history, the Titanic. It is April 1912, and the biggest ship ever built, the Titanic, set sail from England across the Atlantic, packed with excited passengers. It's 2 nights later, and suddenly out of the gloom, the lookout spots a huge dark shape, an iceberg. The crew tries desperately to turn the ship, but it's too late. The iceberg grinds along the ship's side. Water pours into the lower decks. The impossible has happened. The Titanic is sinking. Passengers fill the lifeboats, but there aren't enough. The Titanic disappears into the icy deep with over 1,000 people still on board. 73 years later, Dr. Robert Ballard, an underwater scientist and explorer at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, sets out to follow his lifelong dream, to find the Titanic.
To mount an expedition, it takes all kinds of people with all sorts of skills. Men and women who can operate computers, who can run the ship, who can do a variety of different things. We went out first, and we searched, and we didn't find anything. We covered most of the area, and we didn't find a single object that suggested that we were even close to the Titanic. And then we went out a few weeks later with my robot, Argo. And Argo has a series of cameras on it and sonars on it, and you put it down deep in the ocean on a cable, and you tow it behind the ship sort of like a kite, but upside down. And the images that the cameras see are transmitted up the cable and displayed in our control room. We've been searching for 60 days, and we were down to our last 4 days, so I was starting to panic. And then all of a sudden came into view the debris, and the first recognizable thing we saw was the boiler, one of the big boilers from the Titanic. And it was a very exciting moment. We all were jumping up and down like kids, because we really are kids. Well, once we had found the boiler and we began moving up to where we thought the Titanic was, it showed up on our sonar as a big, big shadow. So we came in very, very high above the ship. We turned on our black and white cameras, and up on the screen came the image of the bow. Looking straight down, you can see the auxiliary anchor. You could see the crow's nest had fallen over and laying onto the bridge, and beneath the crow's nest and mast, you could see 2 big cranes folded into the forecastle. And then you could actually look down inside some of the cargo openings, because the hatches had blown off as the ship had gone to the bottom, and you could gaze down inside the interior of the Titanic. Well, since we found the Titanic so late in our 1985 search, we had only a few days to really explore it. And so when we left, I felt a sense of incompleteness, that I hadn't really got to know the ship and got to explore it as much as I wanted to, particularly because I wanted to go inside the Titanic and see what was inside the ship. To do what I really wanted to do, I had to come back to Woods Hole and build a new robot. And the name of that robot was Jason Jr., or JJ. We have a little submarine here at Woods Hole called Alvin that can carry 3 people deep within the sea. And we put JJ on the front of Alvin in a little garage. And then I was able to land the submarine on the deck of the Titanic, which was really an amazing thing. And then once the submarine was sitting quietly on the ship's surface, I could then send JJ deep inside the ship. And I went through a variety of different places. I went to the bridge, and I looked around the bridge. I went into the promenade and peeked in some of the windows with JJ. But then there was this one room we went into, and it was very dark, and hanging from the ceiling were like icicles, but they were made of rust, and we called them rusticles. They're very fragile, and they're hanging from the roof. Suddenly, Jason bumped into one of the big rusticles, and when you do that, the rusticles are made up of very fragile material, and so it turns instantly into a cloud, a rusty cloud, and we couldn't see. We could bump into things, so we had to pull Jason back out until that rusticle cloud went away. And then all of a sudden, we saw off to our left in the middle of the room, hanging from the ceiling, was one of Titanic's light fixtures. An incredible a glass chandelier light fixture hanging there, and then it was ornamented by a sea fan, like a feather in a hat, and it was really quite an amazing thing to see. We never took anything from the Titanic, but we left something behind to commemorate all those that had died on the ship, and requesting that the ship be left in peace. So we put a beautiful bronze plaque on the stern of the ship, and it's still down there today. I think everyone is born a scientist. Every person that comes onto the planet begins as a scientist. They want to know why they're here. They want to know what the Earth is all about. And as a child, I was always curious. I wanted to know the answers to everything. And I've continued to ask questions, and what's so beautiful about it, you can find answers.